Invasive species are dangerous to the natural environment. They have high reproductive rates, can disperse wide distances, and become very dangerous. This is usually because there's no natural counterfigure. Here at the Bartlett, volunteers and staff alike strive to preserve the natural environment and combat invasive species daily. Invasive species are a threat to the native species in the area. They can overtake large areas quickly, with no threat to control them in this new environment. They can suffocate trees, destroy native shrubbery, and they could be in your backyard now. So you might be wondering, what makes plants invasive? Let's be clear about what plants are invasive and what are not. All native plants are not invasive, but not all non-native plants are invasive. For example, Plant X, a theoretical plant not native to the US, is not an invasive plant because while it does not originate from the United States, it does not have a high enough reproductive rate to be classified as an invasive species. Plants that are non-native are disruptive because they can cause economic or environmental harm, or threaten human health. With little management, invasive plants crowd out and suffocate native plants. A plant is probably invasive if they have the ability to establish new plants and grow at a rapid pace under a large variety of conditions, have a high reproductive rate, can spread very far very easily using vegetative fragments and or seeds, and or lack the natural control of these abilities that would be found in the invader's native home.
Now we have a number of plants on the 90 plus acres of Arboretum plot of property that are invasive plants. And remember, an invasive is an alien plant, one that's not native to our area, and it has other characteristics, one of which is it is aggressive, it rapidly reproduces, it has the ability to jump from one location to another. And these plants, invasive plants, outcompete our native plants in the area and take over and make vast monocultures of the invasive plant. The particular ones that are a problem here at the Arboretum include what we call Winged Euonymous, or burning bush. This is the focus of your efforts in removing invasive plants here this summer. That's one that has been a problem here for quite a few years. There's a group of volunteers at the Arboretum that from time to time devotes an effort to removing invasive plants, and this is one that we've been combating for a number of years. Another problem here at the Arboretum is the Japanese barberry, and I think you were involved in removing some of the barberry plants that were along the trail where we were removing Winged Euonymous. That's another one, and that plant is of particular interest to homeowners because the Japanese barberry is important to the life cycle of ticks, and so if its presence increases the likelihood that you're going to have a problem with ticks and of course with Lyme disease. Other plants here at the Arboretum, invasive plants that are particular problems here include garlic mustard, which is flowers in the spring. We have volunteer groups sometimes that have what we call garlic mustard pulls, where we try to cut or pull the garlic mustard. And for the individual homeowner, with a limited acreage, it's possible to pretty much eliminate the garlic mustard just by cutting or pulling it every year if you're conscientious and do it several years in a row. Yet another plant at the Arboretum that we work on removing is Oriental bittersweet. The thing about Oriental bittersweet is that it's a vine that climbs trees, and it it strangles trees. So it will kill the tree that it's climbing, and therefore the homeowner should be interested in removing those vines from their trees. And it's controllable just by cutting it low at the ground and high at head level, and keep it from climbing up the trees. A plant that is a very common problem here in Fairfield County for homeowners, to a more limited extent here on the Arboretum property because we have so much woodland, but multifloral rose is another invasive plant that will crowd everything out, and so many homeowners face that problem with the multifloral rose, and it's a matter of cutting them back and digging them out to control the population. Here in Fairfield County, if you look at the understory in almost any building lot that hasn't been developed, or any property that is unmanaged, completely unmanaged, you're going to see the understory is very often filled with Winged Euonymous. And they have an extensive root system and just crowd out everything else. Here right next to the Winged Euonymous is a Japanese barberry, and the Japanese barberry is the one that we talked about that is an important part of the life cycle of the tick, and therefore an important part in the spread of Lyme disease. So homeowners should avoid planting Japanese barberry in their landscape. Very often when planted as a landscape plant, the Japanese barberry has a wine color, a red color. But when they escape and become naturalized, then they have green foliage like this one. And you want to avoid planting those, and you want to remove them from your property. You know what that is?
Poison ivy?
Yeah, you're right. And you can tell, even though the leaves are already gone, by it being so hairy. You see that? Mm-hmm. Typical of poison ivy. But poison ivy is not invasive. It's an aggressive native plant, and it's a skin irritant, but it's not a invasive plant.
In conclusion, invasive plants are a danger to the native ecosystem. All invasives are foreign plants, although not all foreign plants are invasive. Native plants like poison ivy can be extremely aggressive and not desirable, but they don't qualify as invasive plants as they're native. Invasive plants pose a danger to the native habitat because of their aggressive reproductive tendencies and growth, leading them to monopolize soil nutrients and crowd out native species, creating environmental monocultures detrimental to biodiversity. They can even affect human health, as evident with the Japanese barberry and the life cycle of the tick, leading to increased cases of Lyme disease. Invasives have no natural competitors in this new environment. Remember to avoid planting invasives and do your best to be consistent about safely removing them from your property. I would like to thank everyone who helped out with my Eagle project, especially the Bartlett Arboretum, my fellow scouts from Troop 9, and Dan Shefferly for helping guide the remediation process and participating in this video.